Well, it seems that we might have an interesting turn of events at Disney, folks. Welcome back. It's your pal Orange Hat here to bring you some news regarding the Walt Disney Company and a shareholder of theirs, I believe, Nelson Peltz, and how he's going to explain his objectives and tactics when turning around faltering companies like the Walt Disney Company. This is coming from Bounding into Comics. Shout out to Bounding and John F. Trent, the author of this article. Investor Nelson Peltz, founding partner of the Trillion Fund Management, explains his objectives and tactics while turning around companies. Peltz recently engaged in a proxy war with the Walt Disney Company and is reportedly looking to take over multiple seats on the company's board of directors. If this guy is anti-woke, then I'm all for it. So let's get into this. In January of this year, Trillion Management nominated Peltz for election to the Disney board, claiming the company's share price has declined to near an 8-year low. The company has materially underperformed the S&P 500 over 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and 10-year periods by negative 24%, negative 60, 66, and 116%, respectively. The company also noted that during the operating performance has deteriorated, including a 50% decline in adjusted earnings per share since fiscal year 2018, despite parks' profitability surpassing historical levels. After citing these poor figures, Tran declared that Disney's current problems are primarily self-inflicted and needs to be addressed. Well, yeah, when Walt Disney decides to sexualize children, hire people who want to sexualize children, put men in dresses, and to greet children at the theme parks, I've covered that in a video, switch people who have sexually assaulted children over to different divisions because, we didn't want to turn them in because they're sick pedophiles. Well, yeah, I'm sorry, folks. Walt Disney has been hurting itself for a while. And their actions are disgusting. Not to mention, almost every time a Florida sex child predator sting goes on, a Disney employee is usually picked up as a part of it. So it just goes to show you that these people have very little in regards to morality when their hiring practices are involved. But yeah, let's get into it. From there, Trillion laid out that Peltz's election to the board would allow him to craft an effective succession plan, get rid of all the woke garbage, and align compensation with performance. Basically, pay them what they're worth for their work and the quality of their work, not for what they think they're worth. He could improve direct-to-consumer operating margins, basically eliminate redundant and or excessive costs. Yeah, get rid of all this bullshit marketing of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Instead, just market it based on merit. And refocus the creative engine to drive profitable growth. Yeah, get rid of wokeness. Furthermore, Trillion wants to enhance accountability on capital allocation and reinstate the dividend by fiscal year 2025. So yeah, enhance accountability on capital allocation. Basically, they want to hold those who are failing accountable, as they should have been. I'm sorry, but Bob Iger, Kathleen Kennedy, and all those people who are in charge of tossing money around should have been fired a while ago. And their plans and thoughts should have been, canceled. Not cancel culture canceled, but canceled as in no longer in operative manner. In February, Trillion would drop the proxy battle, noting a press release. We congratulate Disney and Bob Iger on their recently announced operating initiatives, which are a win for all shareholders and broadly aligned with our thinking. Really. We are pleased with the role that Trillion was able to play in helping to focus the board to take decisive actions, which we believe will lead to better financial results. We were also pleased to see the company's pledge to restore the dividend. However, a new report from CNBC, indicates Peltz is ready to reignite the proxy battle, and Trian has increased its shares in Disney to more than 30 million. In January, Trian noted they only controlled 9.4 million shares. This sounds like a financial coup, folks. Not only has Peltz and Trian significantly increased their number of shares in Disney, but now instead of just one seat on the board for Peltz, Trian wants multiple seats now. Yeah, there's Minnie Mouse doing the Heil Hitler. Given Peltz clearly wants to make changes to Walt Disney Company, it would be instructive to know how he goes about making changes to previous companies that were in the Walt Disney Company's situation. Peltz spoke with David Rubenstein of Bloomberg Wealth back in 2022, where he explained how he goes about fixing and repairing companies. He told Rubenstein, "We're not an active investor. What we see is what we see. Really, companies that we think were once great have lost their way, and that we have a plan for them to get back to greatness again." And that's what we do. We're not there to leverage up these companies. We're not there to split them up. We're not there to do all the terrible things that typically go on with the term activist. We're just trying to get these companies to operate better, the way they used to. Well, to save Disney, you're going to have to destroy it and rebuild it. Top down. After Rubenstein lays out that Peltz buys up a bunch of public stock in companies, then notifies the CEO that he's a big shareholder, Peltz explains how the interactions with CEOs can go. Sometimes no one is thrilled that we're there. Some are more receptive to hear, much more receptive to hear that what we've got to say. Why is there a period there? Anyway, we put together a white paper to go over with management, and that white paper stays private as long as we're in conversation. If we want a board seat, then we think that they are really ready to give us a board seat, it will always stay private. But if they refuse, then we make that white paper public. When asked if he could, how many times CEO welcomed or rebuffed his advice, he stated, "I can't tell you, but I don't remember anybody ever saying the former. But not very often have they been as tough as you said on the latter. Clearly, they're not thrilled to see us, but what's usually happens is that these stocks go up, and they go up nicely for the right reasons, because sales have gone up, market shares have gone up, earnings clearly have gone up, and when we tell them what we think they're doing wrong, and we tell them what we think they're doing wrong." So Peltz then provided an example with Procter & Gamble. The most recent one, which is really interesting, was Procter & Gamble. Procter & Gamble was $70 stock for almost 10 years. The biggest consumer company in the world, but really giving away market share here and there wherever anybody was challenging them. We didn't think the company was structured properly, so we went to them and gave them a plan. We said, "Look, there's one CEO. No one has profit and loss responsibility in this company anywhere other than the CEO. So there's really not ability to impact things because everything was a matrixed organization. Basically, put the blame where the blame belongs, the chief executive officer." Peltz then recalled, "We gave them our structure. They rejected it. We had a proxy fight. We finally won our board seat, and the shareholders won." Later in the interview, Peltz explains what happens when he gets on the board of directors. "Well, first of all, we don't bring that to the boardroom. Our time is spent with the CEO, the chairman, the CFO, and we share our plans with them outside the boardroom. We never try to solve an issue in a boardroom. It's always best done the day before, the week before, outside that room. So basically, yeah, he realizes that the board for Disney would basically reject anything he would probably try to do. We wouldn't be there if we weren't doing well, he asserted. So it's really hard for them to straight face and tell us we're doing well, and we present them with a plan. So this sounds interesting, folks. Hopefully, if this guy is as good as they say he is, maybe Disney might actually have a chance of upping their profit. Although I do hope that they do it by getting rid of all of the evil that they have been committing over the last, decade. We went to them with a plan, or from there, he used Heinz as an example. Look at Heinz, which was our first really aggressive salvo. We became a very large stock or shareholder, and we went to them with a plan. They didn't want any part of us. They didn't know who we were, and Heinz had a 10-year stint of flat to down sales and earnings the same. And what we saw at Heinz very clearly is that every quarter, every year, their direct market spend declined. Okay, so everybody probably has a bottle of Heinz in their pantry. The key was, how do you get it out of the pantry? On the table, turn it upside down. Well, that wasn't happening, he said. So what we did is we said to them, you've got to raise your direct selling expense. Well, why did it keep going down? You know, yourself. If there are estimates of earnings in the next quarter and it's middle of the quarter, and your CFO comes running in and says, we're not going to make consensus, well, there's very little that you have impact on in that quarter for that quarter except advertising spend. He then shared what Heinz did. So what they did is they cut advertising spend, made the quarter, but what was going to happen in the next quarter? Where was the wind at their back for the next quarter to get sales going again? So what happened is, when we were all said and done at Heinz, advertising spend was about 1.5 of sales. That probably was U.S. Steel spends on advertising. When we left the company, we sold it to Buffett and the Brazilians. It was spending close to 5% of sales, and we had a 36 straight quarters of organic sales increases. Okay, these guys are no joke. They actually do a good job with some of this stuff. There was no other consumer company could say that, he recalled. When asked if he would just provide advice without going on the board, Peltz responded, we do that sometime. It's not a matter of wanting to, it's a matter of how receptive management is to our suggestions. Ferguson is a company we bought a lot of stock in, never got on the board, never asked for a board seat, really had a great relationship, and as we do today, with management. No need for us to get on the board. At one point, we were the largest shareholder of Domino's. We spent time with those guys, did not feel that they needed us on the board. They did great things. Yeah, I did notice that Domino's was in a decline for a while, and then they actually started to build back up. We sold the stock too early, but made a lot of money on it. But so we have those relationships at times, he concluded. What do you make of Nelson's strategies and tactics, and how do you think he will move forward with the Disney company? One of the best ways to fix Disney is to basically get rid of all the diversity, equity, and inclusion stuff. Gut it. You need to gut that crap out. And if he does if he's saying he can do all that stuff, and that will increase the company's holdings, well, there you go. But here's the thing. he's usually gets a board position for these companies if he needs it or whatever. If they're actually asking for multiple board seats, that tells you that this is going to be a bigger challenge for them folks. That tells you that this Trian company is going to have a much bigger challenge in fixing Disney. And believe me, if they need to, or if they want to fix Disney, they got to get rid of all the people who are all for sexualizing kids. They need to start doing background screening on their employees to make sure that none of them have been sleeping with kids and wanting to touch kids. They also need to stop doing all this woke diversity crap and just let that flow organically, as it has been doing very well over the last century plus. Because as I've always pointed out, when it comes to LGBTQ stuff, they've been in film for over 100 years. So yeah, anyway folks, that's the video. I am hoping that this Trian company and this Nelson Peltz person is rather anti-woke, because if they want to fix Disney, that's where they got to go. They got to get rid of all the wokeness. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, folks. You all know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. What do you think? Do you think that they will help Disney by getting rid of the wokeness, or do you think that they actually might make it more profitable with the wokeness? I'm hoping not. But let me know your thoughts, folks. This has been Orange Hat. You all have a wonderful day, and always remember, stay humble.